Hello and welcome to episode 2 of my special mini series, a spotlight on LinkedIn content creators who just so happen to be 50 plus. All right. So by way of information, for those who may not be familiar with who I am, and then just a reintroduction, I am Clarine Mitchell. I am the founder and CEO of TCM Communications. As a full-time entrepreneur, my business is all about empowering my clients to leverage LinkedIn so they can generate organic results. So I'm not about the gimmicks. I'm not about the tricks. I'm not about all of that kind of stuff with the algorithms. I'm all about the organic nature of LinkedIn. So I provide one-on-one coaching, corporate training, content creation services, and other done-for-you activity or services for my client. And it's all about changing their lives so they can get results from LinkedIn. Now, this is all about, as far as this mini series, it's a part of me being in LinkedIn's current Creator Accelerator program. Ta-da! No. But being a part of the Creator Accelerator program, CAP, and my project being all about disrupting ageism in the LinkedIn content creation community. That's my belief, and I have a fellow 50-pluser who believes that as well, and we're going to get into that. But my proposal to LinkedIn for my project was all about creating content that brings more awareness to the point that, or to the fact that there are plenty of us, lots of us, 50-plus content creators, and we need to be seen more, recognized more, and tapped into more. LinkedIn is doing a wonderful job with supporting creators, content creators, specifically with the Creator Accelerator program and overall with the creator mode and other features and activity. But quite often, and this isn't just specific to LinkedIn, this is in general when it comes to social media, even off of LinkedIn, but this misnomer, the stereotype, the prejudice, the discrimination that occurs when people think, believe, and say that, no, Clarine, you're too old. Beth, you're too old, or whomever. They may not say that, but that's what they believe, and that's how they act, and that's how they pass us over for contracts, for work, for whatever the case may be, because they favor younger generations because younger generations grew up with social media, but that doesn't mean they exclusively have the skills for the platform. We have them too, and this is not throwing shade or hating on the younger generations. It's just all about us, the 50-plusers who are here and want to be seen as well. That's my mission in the 6 weeks. Whew, big mission, because as soon as I started posting about this, more and more people were saying, yes, Clarine, talk about it. So I'm talking about it. Before I continue on, I want to just go back a little. So this is episode 2, right? So episode 1 was on and I forgot that quick, the 23rd, last Sunday, a week ago. And my guest was Dr. Charlie Cartwright. I want to be able, and I don't think we talked about specifically, because I've loaded that video now on YouTube, so it's there. But I didn't talk specifically with him of why he was my guest on the show beyond his content being phenomenal. He and I met in 2019 when he and I both were speakers for what's called Disrupt HR event in Omaha, Nebraska, actually. So we were both speakers for that event. We met and we've been professionally connected, business connected via LinkedIn since then, have networked and have collaborated and done work together. So just wanted to say that. Now, my guest for today. Hi, everyone. I see you. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, Beth, for a minute. I have to give my buddy Dan Roth a shout out. No, I'll get to everyone else later too, but I had to say hi, Dan. So glad you're joining us this afternoon or this evening or whatever the time frame is, wherever you are. But Beth and I don't even know if she knows this, or remembers this. Let me just say that we've known each other actually longer than I've known Dr. Charlie, because I met Dr. Charlie back in 2019. Beth and I met digitally online back in 2018. I know, right? 2018, because she and I both are part of a Facebook group for women entrepreneurs. And so she was posting in that group and I was posting in that group about us doing what we do LinkedIn wise, because we both, LinkedIn is our life, so to speak. And so we connected, which is a point there I want to just say very quickly, that we don't have to have this competitive mindset. We can collaborate, we can support each other, we can network. There's enough business for all of us out here, I truly believe. So, but anyway, so we connected on LinkedIn and have been networking on the platform throughout since 2018, and then more consistently recently, because we've been in beta groups for different LinkedIn features. So more recently, the LinkedIn audio events feature, we both were beta testers for that. And we did a lot of networking and like DMing on the side, like, wait a minute, how do we do this? How do we do that? What's going on? That kind of stuff. So, but all of my guests throughout this mini series, I've selected specifically for one, because of the age demographic, they meet that criteria. That's number one. But more importantly, their presence on the platform. To really substantiate the premise of my project with LinkedIn, that yes, there's 50 plus creators, not just on LinkedIn, but actively using the platform, creating content consistently that's engaging, that's creating conversations, not just randomly creating posts or posts that sit there and that crickets, so to speak, but engagement, conversations on the platform. Okay, so now that that's done, hey Beth, welcome.
Hi. And I see friends in the chat. It's great to see Leah and Dan and Pat and Anna from Australia, where it's Monday.
Oh my goodness, we have international viewers. That's phenomenal. Great. Yes, thank you. Welcome everyone. Why don't you, before we get into questions that I have for you, because this is an interview style process, introduce yourself. Who are you? I know who you are, but who is Beth Granger?
I'm Beth Granger. I'm a trainer, consultant, speaker on the topic of unleashing the power of LinkedIn. So yes, we travel in similar circles. And in fact, our community globally is just amazing. We come from a place of abundance. And like you said, there is more than enough work for everyone. Right. I primarily work with leaders of businesses, sales teams, people who don't think of themselves as salespeople necessarily. So professional services, where yes, they have to sell to get their business, but that's not what they think of themselves as. And similar to you, one-to-one groups. And we're philosophically connected in that we don't like trying to game the algorithm. We don't believe in using automation or things that it's real relationships.
Yes. And that was one of my criteria too, because I asked the people who I wanted to be guests before they even knew that they were going to be guests. I was just doing some brainstorming with them, touching base. Do you use automation? Do you? So yes, that's key with this conversation as well. All right. So now let's get to my questions, and then we're going to probably veer off. But for disclaimer purposes, I did provide a set of questions just so we can have some structure, but we'll see how this goes. So I need you to publicly say this, Beth. I've said it, but I need you to say it so people hear it from you. You do not have to give your exact age, but can you please say that you are indeed 50?
I am indeed older than 50, or I like to say old enough to know better.
Thank you. Unlike me, like I'm not, all this gray is here. So even with that, sometimes people don't know. But all right. When did you create your LinkedIn profile? Do you remember?
I had looked it up. April 2007.
Wow.
And I don't even remember why I did at the time. It's not like I was looking for a job. I just did. I don't think I was super active necessarily initially, but yeah, that's when.
Similar. I started creating mine in 2007, but yeah. My trajectory on the platform has been different as well, or my journey. So when did you start getting active and why?
I would say probably around So in 2010, I got let go from a job that I had been at a million years. And P.S., it was the best thing that ever happened because I never would have started my business, taking that perceived risk. But
yeah.
So, and maybe I was a little active before then, but as part of thinking I was looking for a job, I was everywhere. I was on Twitter. And at that time, I was more on Twitter. Twitter was a different place then. And so I was just on all the social media platforms. And in fact, recently, I had seen a job that I thought I wanted, thought I found the hiring manager, looked at her profile. Next day, she looked at my profile. I reached out about an information interview. We had an amazing conversation. We stayed in touch all these years, and she recently reached out about having me speak at the organization she's at. So that shows you how you can develop relationships on the platform that are real friendships, real collaborations. Can't speak.
Right.
All that stuff. So yeah. So around 2010 is when I probably got very active.
Okay. Wow. So a long time. You have skin in the game, so to speak. You have the history there, as far as not just and we may start veering off already. I already feel it coming on. So this whole thing, and I applaud LinkedIn for the focus on LinkedIn creators and the creator mode and all of that. But there have been us, not as long as you, but there's been us, the community, especially the 50-plussers or whatever the age, even in general, who have been consistent with content way before. Now there's this new wave of content creators and new wave of people, creating and trying to be consistent and all of that. But we've been here for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And we've been doing this, and we've seen the differences in the platform through the years and the changes and all of that, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think what I'm liking about the changes, how some people will say, oh, that post isn't for LinkedIn. Well, yes, it is, because we're the users. We get to decide what we want to share. And so it doesn't bother me if somebody shares something that someone thinks is not LinkedIn worthy because they want to share it. It's like having a conversation. If somebody says something to you, and are you going to say, no, I don't want to know about that? No, you're having a conversation. So.
Right. And so even with that, if someone creates something that others deem is not LinkedIn appropriate, if it doesn't get any traction, then it's going to fade away. Right.
Exactly.
But if it gets traction, then there it is, right? There's some value that's coming from that content, and that person should stay in that process of creating that kind of content because they've zoned in on what their value is to the platform. So, all right. So why do you create content now? And so before, you had the job loss. Now you've had your business since how long now?
So
2010.
Yeah.
So why are you still creating content on a daily basis? And how do you go about the process of creating your content? We already know you don't use automation. You create your own content. So you're not using a VA or anyone, right?
Occasionally, I have had somebody edit some video for me, but most of the time I do it myself, even though I probably shouldn't time-wise. But so I use it in a couple of different ways. I use it to educate people on the platform, to start conversations, to join conversations, right? So content doesn't necessarily have to be content that I've created. I enjoy joining in on conversations that somebody else started. But I'm kind of, I feel like there are two kinds of people. One person likes to have a calendar and know exactly what they're posting, what day, and I'm more of the intuitive, something that I think of, something I saw, something I thought of. That's how I personally do it. So and so I don't have a consistent schedule. It's if there's something I feel like I want to say, I say it.
Right. I'm the same way. Right. I don't have a calendar. I teach my clients to start out with a calendar until they get into their routine, their rhythm, and build momentum. And then after they do that, the natural process of creating content should flow so they can be organic. So how has creating content benefited your business? Or has it?
Yeah. So it's interesting because a couple of years ago, I did a post and it said something like, I'm really excited to be moderating a panel on social media and healthcare. Thank you, Northwell. That's the health system in New York. Thank you, Northwell, for hosting us. Looking forward to hearing from these panelists. Mentioned them, talked a little bit about the event, probably put the link if people want to sign up. One of the panelists wrote back and said something really simple like, looking forward to it. Well, a second connection to me, so someone that knew that person, saw the post because of her comment, read the post, clicked through to my profile. At the time, I think I had my phone number really prominently, called me on the phone and said, I see you're a speaker about social media and healthcare. We have a conference coming up this fall. What's your speaking fee? Could that please happen every week? Right? I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just trying to promote the event and get people to sign up for the event. And so, yeah,
and then open the door for even more business.
Exactly.
I love that story because so many people still have the belief that LinkedIn is just for job seekers, that LinkedIn is not the comprehensive and engaging platform that it is today, that they don't have the understanding that the platform has truly evolved, and especially specifically for entrepreneurs, business owners like us. There's a world of opportunity, as you just shared with that example, on the platform. But people have to know how to use the platform, right? They can't just do whatever. It is more specific on LinkedIn. And that's why we are in the business, you and I, and what we do, teaching people those best practices so that they're able to get those kind of results. But that's a great example exactly of how it works. It is not even always just who you're first level connected to. Those second and third level, because of the exposure, the ripple effect, the snowball effect of LinkedIn, the results just happen organically, the law of attraction that works and goes into play. That's a phenomenal example. Let me just say this before we continue talking and I forget. If anyone has a question specifically for Beth about her life as a content creator, because that's a part of what she does, put it in the chat. So maybe type question and then my eyes will go to it quicker in the chat. And then we will get to it after we go through the series of the other questions that we have. So let me ask you this. I didn't ask Dr. Charlie this, but I want to ask you this because I thought about it this morning. On the weekends, generally, I take time to stop and fix me a full breakfast. So in that process, time and time again, especially on Saturday mornings, because the content creation process sometimes can be very, we can get like so deep in before we know time sometimes, right? The wormhole that happens sometimes. But my whole point is, time and time again, I burnt my sausage on Saturday morning. burnt my breakfast, thinking, oh, it's on low, it'll be fine. And, you know, let me go create this post. And then I'm just in my creative zone. And just before I know it, it's like I'm hearing some sizzling. So on a fun side, what can you tell us about a sneak peek into the life of a LinkedIn content creator where you've had a similar experience?
Well, I've always been a content creator, right? Not just on social media. I've always been, I started life as an artist and a writer. So and then I also fell in love with technology. So it's the perfect combination. And
I didn't know that about you. So we had that coming out. My background's public relations and print journalism.
There you go.
Again, so
there you go. Yeah, and
that's why we're good at what we do.
And so sometimes I just have an idea and I'll type it up, and it's a text post. Other times, it's a video. And it's just, for me, it's sort of intuitive. It's not like I say, okay, this is what I want to say. How do I want it to be an image? It just sort of flows out of me. So I don't know. For other people, when I work with people, I think sometimes they're a little apprehensive. So we
Right.
have a conversation about it. You know,
Right.
this is what I want to say. This is what I want to share. What's the best way to do that? But for me, I just, yeah. And I don't know if I get lost in the content creation process. I get lost in the engaging with content that I see there. So if I'm on the platform because I'm going to share something, then I see something else and I go down that rabbit hole of reading and watching and
right. So no burnt breakfast stories with you? Like that's just me?
Yeah. No, I mean, sometimes I look at my watch and say, oh, wow, how did that happen? It's time to get off the platform. But no, I haven't. I have burnt bacon once in a while. I have.
Okay.
Not because I'm on LinkedIn. I'm just distracted with something else.
So what tips would you give someone who is in our age demographic and is creating content or wanting to create content and get greater reach or greater engagement? What tip would you share with them?
I would actually tell them to not stress about trying to get greater reach. I think they should share the content in their voice, in the way that they want to share it. And the people who should see it will see it. Because you could have, if you look too much at the numbers, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You could have 3 people see a post. And if one of those people it really strikes them or it's really important to them, that can make a difference in your business or your life. Right. So I think at least initially, just start sharing and see what happens. See and experiment with the different formats, because a different percent of your network, some people like to read, some people like to watch video, some people will be attracted to an image. So, and not to be afraid. I think a lot of people are, because LinkedIn is your career and a business platform, they get a little nervous. Like, how can I say this? Is it okay? Do I need someone to proofread it? Is my boss going to see it? Right? They're a little more apprehensive than they would be, say, on other platforms.
Right. Speaking of other platforms, our buddy Dan, I don't know if he's being serious with this or not. That the 2 most used platforms for the over 50 demographics is TikTok and Tinder. Thanks for the comic relief, Dan. So even I put a poll recently up about, demographics, and it is so far, it is the 50 plus or the Gen Xers. That's the largest share there. But it's all about, even as you were saying with your tip and insight about it's important to look at analytics and numbers, right? But don't be obsessed with them because they don't tell the full story. Exactly. And we can't overcomplicate. We shouldn't overcomplicate the LinkedIn content process, because if people scroll way back, because I create content every day and I've been doing that for years, but if you would scroll way back into my content, I'm sure the same thing is true for Beth. The content we create today is so different than content we created months ago, let alone years ago. So you have to get started and then grow, as you're learning the platform more. But it is a process. I want to, before I forget, I want to give a shout out to Martin. He is a part of this mini series as well. So thanks for tuning in live, Martin. Looking forward to you being a guest on the show as well. And so I'm not seeing any questions, but I want to, now that I went through kind of the basic questions, I want to have some real talk, candid talk.
Okay.
So Beth, is there ageism in the LinkedIn content creation community, or is that just me just off in my own mind too much? And is there ageism here?
I don't know. I mean, what happened was when the first CAP program, the first accelerator program happened, there was some talk about amongst people saying, oh, how come there's nobody of a certain age?
Right.
But there's no way to know. We don't know how many people of a certain age applied. So hard to say. And then what happened was there were a number.
I applied the first time and didn't get it.
So did I. And there was also an instance where a number of people had a creator manager. So not everybody knows that you can have some people can have a creator manager, somebody at LinkedIn that's their conduit to LinkedIn.
Right.
And it was a wonderful experience because, you know, you got to learn more about what was going on at LinkedIn and potentially get access to be a beta tester, things like that. And a number of us lost our creator manager. Her job focus changed and we didn't get a new one. And it seemed like it was people of a certain age. And so there was talk, oh, you know, like, why was this? I tend to think it's because we don't need a creator manager because we're already so comfortable creating content.
That's a perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no way to really know. Somebody did say to me that they saw written somewhere that for the accelerator program, they were consciously having 90% of the people be under a certain age. So,
what? Huh?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I would like to see that. So if the person is watching this or someone who's watching this has seen that, I want to see that in writing.
Yeah. I don't know. And even if that's the case, the intent may have been to get people who are just starting on the platform to be more comfortable with it. I don't think it would necessarily be, oh, we don't want the people that are older. It's more just that many of us who are older are already comfortable here. We're already sharing content here. But I don't know. What do you think?
Like, I clearly believe that there's ageism, and it's not necessarily where it's exclusively about ageism via LinkedIn. That's not what I'm saying necessarily. I'm just saying overall, when it comes to 50-plussers being skilled at creating content that's digital content, whether on LinkedIn or other platforms, and even specifically beyond just on the platform. This is coming from my experience as being a business owner, as being an entrepreneur, and this is what my business is about. And specifically, I've been told that by a prospect, actually a client who decided not to continue with me because they wanted to go with someone younger. And the references or the comments that are said through, you know, the negotiation meetings, the prospecting meetings, and even, you know, just as it is in the workplace, I always say LinkedIn is an extension of the workplace. It's the digital extension of the workplace. And so just like it happens in the workplace, it happens on LinkedIn as well. But just like in the workplace, where it happens to us in the business, you know, world as well, business owner, entrepreneur world, where in the workplace, you know, hiring interns or younger individuals because they can pay them less, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But the value, you know, we have higher rates, but the value we give is at a higher or greater level as well. But yeah, that's just my belief. We have a question, so I'm going to get off of what I believe and what I've seen. You know, because just because going back to what you asked me, like, just because we may be 50 plus and not every 50 plus person is skilled at creating content. For one, just like every young person is not skilled at creating content. But just because some of us who are 50 plus are skilled at creating content or have been doing this for a while, doesn't mean then we shouldn't also have access to certain features or certain programs or certain resources, or be given as shout outs and all of that as other demographics are. And I know maybe months ago, earlier this year, there's a report that came out that Gen Z is the fastest growing demographic on LinkedIn, but we're still here too, and we keep the platform going, right?
Yeah.
Let me get to the question. So, hey, Kimberly, what content format have you found to be the most engaging?
So that's each person has their own answer to that.
Right.
I might be somebody I might like to read. Other people maybe they like to see visuals or video. Me personally, I like all of it. You know, different things capture me in different ways. Sometimes it's a PDF And that's really interesting. And sometimes it's a video and sometimes it's a LinkedIn Live or a LinkedIn audio. So in terms of, I think it's worth for people who are thinking about how should I do a certain post, experiment, try different ways and see, start with what you're most comfortable with, because then you're going to do it. But, and then try different things, because you'll get a different subset of your network who will engage with that content.
Right. And we can't get static. We can't get comfortable with our content. We have to keep trying new things and exploring. So most definitely. The next question, and I hope that helped, Kimberly. How do you get over the fear of showing up, on video? I'm gonna let you go for that first.
I actually held Anna was here with us, who founded LinkedIn Local. And one of my early LinkedIn Local events that I held in person pre-pandemic was a panel discussion on getting over the fear of doing video. And everybody said, there are people who could get up in front of a crowd of hundreds and not have a problem. I think it's when it's on video, because and same thing with images, because you can watch it over and over and stress about like your hair being out of place or something, that people worry about it. So you just have to get over it. It truly is. Think of it as a conversation. It just happens to be on video.
Right. And so the easiest way, I shouldn't say easiest, but it's doing it. Yeah. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And so technique wise, sometimes it can be just doing the videos just for you, not to be loaded on LinkedIn, not to be a live, but doing the videos for you to get comfortable and seeing yourself and listening to yourself and seeing what else you can do, but understanding, and this is overall with content on LinkedIn, don't strive for perfection. Like there's always, whether it's content that we're typing for the caption and there's a typo, whether, one side of my top is like, I'm fighting with this top, or I forgot one, there's always going to be something we can point the finger at and say, like you said about the hair, right? People zone in on the value that you provide or we provide more so than any error, mistake, or something that's a little off or whatever. If we're providing value, people are going to overlook that. And I've learned, but I love my LinkedIn community, because if I have a typo, especially early on when I started my business, I had people who would DM me and I loved it and appreciated it, right? I'm like, oh, let me go change it. Thank you, LinkedIn, for having the edit feature option. But so doing it and then maybe practicing it, and the more you do it, the more exposure you get, the easier it gets for you. Hi, Lori. How are you? Our life experience as well as our business expertise as 50-plussers brings tremendous value to our clients. I'm going to let that sit there for a minute, because so well stated, right? We bring a greater, and again, this is not a we versus them, but the value we bring to the table is so much more because we have the wealth of experience and expertise, the broader perspective, right? The eagle-eye view that we can approach content in a whole different way than some other individuals, I'll just say. Well,
and also, what I love is the opportunity to collaborate from people from all generations. That makes really amazing. That's part of why I like audio, right? You never know who's going to be on it, and it's a conversation, and you learn from each other. So
exactly. Someone had, and I'm trying to remember his name. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. I think his name is Chris, because he's in the CAP program, actually in my geographic area as well. He made a post of how people can support, us 50-plussers. And I'm like, exactly what you said. We can collaborate, right? We can support each other. I believe this is who you were mentioning before, Anna?
Yes.
Okay. Great to have you here, Anna.
It's tomorrow for her.
I'm sorry. Oh, is she in Australia?
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that. Question for Beth. Which type of content have you found that resonates most with your network?
So that it changes over time.
Yes.
I find, for me personally, things that get the most comments, for instance, actually tend to be text posts. Yeah, there may be an image, but seem to get, and that's just me, for instance, not polls, polls for me get very little
Right.
Engagement. Yeah, I think text posts with images, sometimes PDFs, but I don't do those as often, so I don't really know.
Right.
And I haven't done as many. I used to do LinkedIn Live every week when I first got it for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done a LinkedIn Live in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And those sort of depended on factors I wasn't sure about, like my guest, the time of day,
Right.
you know, things
Right.
that. But what I like about LinkedIn Lives is it becomes content that you can use in other ways. You can download the video and chop it up. You can do different things,
Right.
like you put your interview last week on YouTube.
Right.
So it can be
And so,
repurposed.
right. And sometimes some videos I put on and create, you know, download the audio, and then it becomes a podcast version as well. So there's different, and that's another point, content creation wise. We shouldn't stay static where, or feel like we create a post and it's just it. We can get multiple purposes or uses out of content, right? So Anna says it's 9:30 a.m. Monday. All right. So for me, it's 5:36 p.m. Sunday, and there is already 9:30 a.m.
And here it's 6:36 p.m.
But so that speaks to what I say all the time, and I love and appreciate the global aspect of LinkedIn, having the connections across the world, the broader. I really didn't appreciate it as much until the pandemic hit, and being able to be online and service clients all across the world is phenomenal. Business owners just don't understand what they're missing out on with the platform. All right, so we're going to get ready to wrap up. What else would you like to share?
Well, really, that if people are not creating content, it's time to start. And sometimes they wonder, well, I don't know what to say. A great place to start is by answering the top questions you get asked about what you do. So answer those frequently asked questions. And another good thing is sort of your business origin story. Why do you do what you do?
Right. That's good. And even from what Angela had asked before, you know, the content that resonates the most for me, I would say it is the text posts and then images, but quite often is the posts that are more personal in nature. And people, and then going back to something you said before, people say, oh, that doesn't belong on LinkedIn. I beg to differ. Yes, it does. Because LinkedIn is a social selling platform. It's all about people getting to know, like, and trust you. And the more people get to know, like, and trust us, the more they're going to do business with us, right? And so I see my personal posts resonating more as far as traction, but it's always, I put the business spin with it. I put the business professional spin. The way I will post it on LinkedIn is not the way I'm going to post it on Facebook or any other platform, because it is LinkedIn. So I lean into the standards of the platform, but it's still personal in nature. And then people have that connectivity with me, and then it opens the door for then the business opportunity.
Like there's something that I share on the anniversary of the event that I talk about. I share it every year this coming week. So and it's personal. And when I first shared it, I wasn't sure whether I should, but it's the lessons and the things that come from it are universal.
Right. Right. So was it this? Well, today's Sunday, so start of a new week. Last week. So October is the anniversary month, I say, for when I had my last full-time job. So I made a post about that. And again, the business or professional relevancy, lessons learned, and all of that. Let me see this one. Don't know who you are. Give StreamYard permission so that we're able to identify you. In both of your experiences, is there any advantage of having a LinkedIn Clubhouse Live? I'm not sure if I understand the difference between live and Clubhouse. Oh,
so maybe the person means the difference between LinkedIn audio and Clubhouse. I'm not sure, but
because I see LinkedIn Clubhouse Live. So
there are three different things. I'll quickly say Clubhouse is a separate platform. That's a social audio platform. You can host or join conversations. LinkedIn has LinkedIn Live, what we're doing right now, which is video, and then people can chat by text. And then LinkedIn audio, which is more similar to Clubhouse, which is an audio conversation on LinkedIn.
Wait a minute, similar but better per me.
I agree. And they all have their place depending on who you're trying to have a conversation with.
Okay. So and Martin is here. I don't know if Martin is still here because Martin Pratt uses Clubhouse a lot, and he actually has his LinkedIn related show on Clubhouse, and he interfaces the two platforms together. I always miss his because they're on Sunday mornings, and that's my worship time. So, but for me, and I experiment on Clubhouse, but LinkedIn audio, because I feel it's more comprehensive, is in a part of the platform that when we're on, we can go and check someone's profile out while we're listening or participating in the LinkedIn audio. We can message them without it being an email credit. We can start following them. We can expand our reach on the platform where the networking happens specifically for that purpose. It is similar to Clubhouse in a sense, it's audio, right? But there's different features about it because it's a part of the LinkedIn environment overall. Clubhouse was created specifically, excuse me, as an audio app, right? LinkedIn was created, and then they added LinkedIn audio events, right? Created as a job seeker platform, and is continuing to expand to include other features. So, but
fun features. I love getting new features and trying to break them. I love beta testing.
Trying to break them. I have some concern, and I'm going to stop because I knew we were going to be long just because the work that we do and the questions. But I don't want to say concerns because I don't want it to sound like it's something grave. But I love the new features too. But I don't want LinkedIn to be in this rabbit hole of trying to chase the shiny object and trying to encompass everything from other platforms. There's a uniqueness about LinkedIn that I wanted to maintain. Give us the features that make sense and let us continue to maximize those.
I agree.
But not turning into this broad platform.
Trying to be everything for everybody.
It doesn't work in business overall. So yeah, it wouldn't work here either. So, but okay. I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions, and then we're going to wrap up. I think people are communicating with each other.
They are. They're answering questions for each other. I love it.
So Angela's saying, in audio, both audio platforms, but LinkedIn Live is video. Yes, and need a third-party tool. Yes, so as I'm streaming this, I'm using StreamYard. And there's other streaming platforms that can be used, but you just can't go on to you just can't go on to LinkedIn and go live like you can do on Facebook or other platforms. You have to use a third party. So I use StreamYard because I love StreamYard. And I think that was it.
Yeah.
In audio events, you can just go on. And that brings me to another point that I love about LinkedIn audio events, that you can go via desktop or the phone.
Yes. I do like that a lot. And you can pretty much seamlessly switch between the two. So if you're listening to something in the car and you get to your house, you can switch to the computer.
Right. Okay. So for real, I'm going to wrap up now. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate everyone. I think, and I hope I got all the comments or all the questions. I'll be going into the chat, and Beth, I welcome you to go in the chat later as well to capture. Let me see if this is a question. I liked your comment about posting about what you do based on what people may ask you, but does it become tiring?
Tiring for me or for the people who are reading it? I'm not sure. In other words, I wouldn't say always sharing that, but as an early post, if you're not used to posting, I think here's an example. Imagine we were all in a room together, a networking event or some kind of event, and you were talking to somebody. Mm-hmm. You talk about personal stuff first. Where do you live? How many kids do you have? What are you going to wear for Halloween? So that kind of story is interesting to people. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do that every week, but if you're looking for something, if you're not used to posting yet and sharing content, just some ideas of ways to get started.
Yeah. So she was saying, do you grow tired of talking about yourself? And as you were saying, it's just a way to get started. But yep. As a philosophy of my business is, we should be our biggest fans. And the clients of mine who are on now, you know, that's what I push. We should be our biggest fans. So we should never get tired of talking about ourselves, not to the point where we're arrogant, but we have something to say, something to share that's of value. And we should share that unique perspective that only we can give, that's different from what someone else would say or how they experience maybe the same circumstance or similar circumstance. How are you accessing the comments since LinkedIn StreamYard doesn't allow LinkedIn comments? No. Yes. So I'm using StreamYard. And StreamYard has in the broadcast studio, I see the comments live as they're coming up, and Beth sees them as well. So again, I don't know how other streaming platforms work. I love StreamYard because it's user-friendly. It makes it look like I know what I'm doing all by myself, right?
What we can't do is I can't put in a comment through StreamYard that will go to LinkedIn. If I ever wanted to, and it's too distracting to do that, but if I ever wanted to be able to respond to a comment while the show was going on, I would have to log into LinkedIn, say through my phone.
Right. Or so usually my routine is right after the show that I do, then I go through all the comments and I acknowledge and reply as needed. So as I'm going live, or as we're live, I can see the comments in real time. And so then I bring it up on the screen and we respond. But as you said, Beth, I can't type a response or a comment during the show. So I just see the comments. And then again, I bring it up so that I can see it in larger form so I can read it and everyone else can see it as well. Anything else, Beth? I thought I cut you off.
I just want to encourage people to, if they're not active with sharing content, first of all, a great way to start is to engage with the content of other people, find conversations that are happening and join them. And then don't be afraid to share a post and get started in that world. It's a wonderful place to be.
The opportunities open when you start doing that and start being consistent with it. I want to acknowledge this and celebrate. So great session. I made a post today about an organ donation experience and plan to do a series. That's commitment to a series.
Yeah, Pat, I want to read that. Thank you.
Good for you, Pat. Keep it up. Keep it up. All right. So I hope, again, everyone has enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's live or through the replay. I want to make sure that I make note of the hashtag that is at the bottom, I think, right? That's 50 plus LI creators. So 50 plus LI meaning LinkedIn creators. This mini video series or LinkedIn live series is just one aspect of my content for my LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program project. So I'm also creating content pretty much on a daily basis regarding this project, whether it's a video about news articles that are related to the topic, whether it's I'm doing polls, I'm doing regular content, I'm doing a variety of content. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss any that's forthcoming through the end of November, or want to go backwards to see what other content you may have missed, put in the search on the top left of LinkedIn, the hashtag 50 plus LI creators. 50 plus LI creators. Hit the follow button so that you won't miss it future-wise. That is it. Thank you, Beth, for joining.
Thank you for inviting me. It was so much fun.
Yay. Glad you enjoyed it. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Join us again on, the next 4 weeks at 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on LinkedIn Live. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.